Hey guys, it's Tim from Pro Wrestling Unlimited, and we're here at the special Pro Wrestling Unlimited podcast as we have a special guest with us today.
It's me! Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's Nick. I'm a special guest, because I'm never on the show. Oh, God. We do have a really awesome guest, and I'm thoroughly excited. For those of you that did watch, 1 week ago today, we were 1 week removed from the greatest Royal Rumble, the Royal Rumble that took place in Saudi Arabia. There was a guy out there that stood out in a group of about 4 or 5 Saudi Arabian superstars, some tryouts. There's one guy that every person in every comment section of a YouTube video or an Instagram only described him as the long-haired guy.
Or the Saudi Seth Rollins.
The Saudi Seth Rollins.
I get that a lot.
So you guys heard his voice. We've got Mansoor here. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's been a great day. Woke up still jet-lagged. Fed my guinea pigs. We had a great breakfast together.
What are their names?
Oh boy. Okay, don't make fun of me on this one, okay?
That's always a good start.
All right, I got 3 of them, okay? One is named Sprinkle, just singular. One is named Stella, and these were their names actually when I adopted them. I didn't want to give them new names because that's what they're used to. But the name that I gave to the one guinea pig that I adopted previously, I named her, you're going to call me a weeaboo, but I named her Sayuri, after a character in Persona 5, which is a video game I enjoy.
Oh yeah, I played that. I love that game.
Yeah.
Perfect. So
there are a couple. There are a few. They're cute kiddos.
I think that's something that, just hearing that is something that a lot of people don't expect from the, a professional wrestler, whether they've only seen you in that WWE ring or they've seen you wrestle around here in the indies. You don't really expect them just to be people. And I think
Right.
that was something really cool before we started. We were all just kind of shooting the breeze, and it's really interesting to see that that side of person and wrestler. So I think that's really great.
Totally. I think that there's positives and negatives to that. I think a couple decades ago, when you didn't really know anything about wrestlers, you kind of saw them as larger than life characters, like beyond the kind of people who would have 3 guinea pigs and just be in their kitchen like making cereal and kind of just living life. But at the same time, you like seeing that they're humans, obviously, but I think depending on the character, you also kind of want them to be mysterious. I think social media has really changed the game for professional wrestling in terms of looking at the lives of professional wrestlers.
Oh, absolutely. And so what I want to kick off here is where it kind of began for you with the idea of wanting to do wrestling, doing wrestling, and then even being talked to by the WWE. How did that all kind of come together into this giant ball of you now being probably one of the most talked about recruits, and not only recruits, but one of the most talked about segments from that greatest Royal Rumble?
Sure. And I actually just want to say, just for a second, calling a show in Saudi Arabia the greatest Royal Rumble is the most Saudi thing ever. Like, you guys have no idea culturally. Like, I totally understand why people are like, why is it the greatest Royal Rumble? Like, why don't they just take the name of a different show and put greatest behind it? It's because Saudis are like, they want something they already know, but the best version of that thing. It's not just the Royal Rumble. It's the greatest Royal Rumble.
It's like, we don't settle for anything less than great.
Exactly, yeah.
I love it.
But it all goes back to, I was raised in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, which is the capital of Saudi Arabia. And I don't want to, I don't want to give you my whole life story, obviously. It's going to bore you to death. But my dad is Saudi and my mom is American. She's Greek and Cypriot. And but I lived in Saudi Arabia with my family for a long time in Riyadh. And one day I had a tutor, or I was at my tutor's house, and because we traveled a lot as part of my dad's job. And her son was watching on television. I think it was like Brock Lesnar versus maybe Kurt Angle or something.
Ooh.
And this
not
was
a bad match to
not at all. No, not at all. And I was just like captivated. Like I didn't want to have my lesson because I just wanted to keep watching what was on my screen. And my older brother actually was always a pro wrestling fan, but it never kind of came up until I was like, hey, like, what is this? What is like the WWE? Because I think by that point it was the WWE. I'm pretty like, I was born in 95, so I'm 22. So
You are.
I know.
I am
sorry.
19 and I'm working 2 retail jobs and you're standing in the middle of a ring at a WWE pay-per-view. What am I doing wrong?
No, believe I was in your spot. This kind of shit happens. Okay, let's fast forward. I'm working the indies. It's my first full year of pro wrestling after I graduated from college. And, you know, I hear there's a show in Saudi Arabia. My older brother, who is basically my best friend, shoots me a message and he's like, hey, they're doing tryouts. And I was like, man, I've been living in America since I was like 13. And I feel like they're not going to want a guy who's been in America. I feel like they want guys who have been living in Saudi Arabia. I don't know. Maybe it was like a self-esteem thing, but he convinced me to send in an application. And the next day I got a call from somebody representing the Saudi government and was like, hey, we want to invite you to fly down. Only thing was, yeah, it was quite a phone call. And I was like, huh? I thought it was a rib, honest to God. But I knew that none of my wrestling friends could do a Saudi accent. So
joke's on them.
Exactly. And actually 2 days later, I flew out to Saudi Arabia because I had put in the application so late that it was a miracle at all that they even saw it.
Wow.
2 days later, I took like a 26-hour journey. So I stopped in Dallas and then New York and then Paris, and then I arrived in Jeddah completely exhausted. But the next day was the first day of tryouts, and I knew that this was probably going to be my one shot, or at least the first shot I'd have in a long time to reaching my dream job, honestly. And that's why during the training, I was like, it was 110% every second of the day. So we had 27 guys in the beginning, and second day, actually 6 of them left. They quit.
Wow.
So we had 21 guys, and most of the day we'd be doing drills to test our cardio, our athleticism. And, you know, we'd have 4 guys in the ring, but sometimes there wouldn't be enough guys, so people would have to go twice. And whenever Matt Bloom said, I need somebody to go again, I always wanted to be the first one to hop up on that apron. I wanted to be the guy that always did everything twice. I wanted to be the guy that had the best form. I wanted to be the guy that always got up like the fastest when we were practicing getting up, stuff like that, because I knew that what they were looking for was someone who really wanted it. And surprisingly enough, there were a lot of people who didn't work like they really wanted it.
Which is kind of a shock. You'd imagine that idea of getting the WWE, which for a lot of people is the promised land. Sure, there's stuff like New Japan, Ring of Honor, PWG that are, equally, if not as big. But you think with WWE, people would be like, this is my chance right now.
Absolutely. And I think they did a great job of cutting it down, the WWE team. We went from 21 people to 8 people, and then from the 8 people, they cut it down to the 4 people that you saw in the ring. And
that's outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really I was sweating bullets every night because I was like, God, when are they going to make the cut? And who are they going to pick? Because I didn't really know what they wanted. I was probably like, honestly, like, I'm 6 feet tall, but I'm not like big. I'm not a big guy. I'm pretty skinny. Like I'm mostly lean. And those guys were like bodybuilders, like MMA fighters, like legit, like Greco-Roman wrestlers. And if what they were looking for was size, I mean, that wasn't my strong suit. So what I really had to focus on was, no matter how hurt I was, no matter how tired I was, I wanted to show that I had the drive and I had the determination, and that I was going to be the guy that was going to put all of myself into whatever they wanted of me.
And did you get the chance to talk to anyone like Matt Bloom or Triple H about what they, kind of their thoughts on you, or did they say anything to you?
Yeah, I got to talk to, it was Matt Bloom. We had Dan Matha there. We had Tucker Knight from NXT. Ryan Katz was there, Coach Moss. And there wasn't a lot of times where I got one-on-ones with them until actually the day of the show. We kind of shared a locker room with the NXT guys, and Canyon Seaman would come down and we talked to him. And, I actually learned a lot about the way WWE works. And once you kind of learn about that, it really changes your perspective on how you watch the show. Everything is really micromanaged, and a lot of segments are kind of different people are responsible for different segments. Mm-hmm. So, and writers, and I think a lot of people, they don't really think about when they see a wrestler cutting a promo. And then if maybe that promo isn't as good as you would think, a lot of people blame the wrestler, but that might not necessarily be their fault. It might be the direction, kind of like a movie. The director and the screenwriter are responsible for a lot of what the actor is saying and how they're delivering it. So it really is a team effort.
With the promo that you cut out there, was that they said say these exact words in this order, or did they say like, hey, go out there and be you, show them how happy you are to be here?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. The writer responsible for our segment was really cool. Essentially what he was like was, you know, I have this in mind. We want you two to cut like a short promo, maybe a couple sentences. Here's kind of the general outline of what I want you to say. And then I was able to talk with him and be like, can I say this? Can we put Saudi Arabia at the end of the sentence for the big pop? And he was like, absolutely. So it was definitely negotiable, but I had to stick with the outline of what they wanted. Like, I couldn't show too much personality because then it would distract from the overall message of the segment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Which we've noticed a lot of times, not only in that case, but also in WWE itself on, Raw and SmackDown. You'll notice a lot of those moments, especially for guys like Roman Reigns. He cuts these promos that are he has these moments of like, fire and intensity, but then that takes away from the entire story because people are like, he just cut a legitimate promo. This is awkward. So right. that idea of, having you go out there and do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that, but still try to keep it to the script. I think that's something that a lot of people don't really get to know about or see. Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough, man. Especially because this whole, I don't know if we want to get into this so early, but this whole backlash with the Davaris and Iran, a lot of that anger is being placed towards the performers when, there's a lot of factors that go into, who says what and why they say it.
Are you allowed to kind of, did you know going into it that this was going to happen and this is what they're going to say?
No, actually, we found out about that segment the day of. We weren't even really sure if we were going to be on the show and in what capacity, if so. So, when I met the Davaris, who are absolute class acts, by the way, awesome guys, it was kind of like, okay, I kind of see what they're going to do here. And, the sort of simmering tension between Iran and Saudi Arabia, which is at this point very much like, maybe the U.S. and Russia during the Cold War. Given that context, I kind of knew what was going to happen. But all the performers involved were absolutely respectful towards each other. And we just saw it as a job. Being a professional wrestler, there's really... It's very difficult because in order to, let's just admit it, WWE is the big dance, it's the big show, and there's a ton of alternatives, but pretty much almost everybody's dream is to be in that company, and that dream can change maybe once they reach a different kind of a success, and there are people all over the world who have tons of success in different companies, but for me, that's where I wanted to be, and when that segment was kind of proposed, I think some people were kind of, fidgety about it or uncomfortable. But then, I asked my older brother for advice, and he was like, listen, Mansoor, I know how you feel about this whole thing, but let's think about this 10 years from now. This is probably going to be a thing where people are like, hey, remember the time Mansoor debuted this way in an angle between an inter-Middle Eastern conflict that's kind of resembling something, and it's like going to be like one of those weird things, but it's not going to be the thing that defines my career.
Exactly.
And if
personally, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I think the thing that is definitely gonna be a big staple on the career that I would hope you would be in NXT, go through the ranks, go through and become part of WWE. That initial promo, just the comments on that thing range from, this guy's great, this guy's a ton of charisma, I've never seen this kind of charisma on a guy. I think that's going to stick out very, very heavily to a lot of people when they see you come, and whether they see you at an independent show here in the Bay or they see you, on NXT on the network or on SmackDown or Raw, that's going to be something that's always going to stick with them. Was this guy has all the charisma in the world.
I really appreciate that. And it's been so amazing to hear all the positive comments from people. Because I was actually really worried. I was like, so my trainers, the Suburban Commandos, also known as the Stoner Brothers, who wrestle out here in California, they have a school here. They always taught me, no matter what you do, it can be a 5-minute match, it can be a 30-minute match, it can be a 10-second promo, it can be a 10-minute promo. Whatever you do something memorable. No matter how many people are involved, be the one that stands out. So when we were kind of rehearsing that segment, and it was kind of told to me, okay, we want you to shove Davari, I was like, I can hit a pretty good drop kick. Or
maybe imagine he's like, why is this guy going back a little? Holy shit, he just hit him with a drop kick.
And I was like, since they're both outside of the ring, I think it'd be cool. Maybe I could do a dive or something. and actually Adam Pearce, he looked at me and he was like, listen, buddy, I know you want to get your shit in, but we got to do what we got to do.
Right.
Oh,
and it's true. It's true. I wanted to get my shit in.
But that's also just like you want to get your shit in because you know you can do it. You want to stand out.
That's the thing is like, Faisal, who is just amazing, by the way, the guy who threw the roundhouse kick.
Oh, okay. That dude.
He got to throw a roundhouse kick, and I was jealous. Oh man, he's gonna be like the Saudi Tom Selleck with that mustache. He cut. Look, I don't even know if I can really talk about this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Ooh. He cut the best. We all 21 people cut a promo. They wanted to see how good we were at cutting a promo in front of a camera during the tryouts, and Faisal cut maybe the most amazing promo I've heard in a long, long time. With a completely straight face, he looked directly in the camera and he said, "Hello, my name is Faisal, and I am the master of kick. I will kick anyone. I will kick the bird. I will kick the fish. I will kick the giant. I will kick the midget. It does not matter. I am going to kick the biggest man in WWE." And then he lifted his shirt to reveal a six-pack. And he went like beep, 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 like dialing on his abs like a phone. And he put his hands up to his ear and his mouth like a phone. He was like, "Hello, Big Show. Come here so I can kick you." Hung up the phone, turned to his left and said, "Hello, Big Show. I am here to kick you." And then like Mac from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, he does this like spin kick. And then he looks at the ground and goes, "I have kicked the Big Show." Looks at the camera and goes, "Okay, I'm done."
Wow.
Incredible.
And I literally I stood up and I applauded.
That's great.
Hello, Big Show. I have kicked Big Show.
That kid is gonna have a great future. But yeah, he threw a roundhouse kick, and Nasser, who is awesome, and I want him to be my Diesel, hit a body slam, and I was like, man, I wish I could do like a wrestling move, but I know why I have to do what I have to do. And so I really looked at what they wanted me to do, and I was like, how can I take a shove and how can I take a 2-sentence promo and make it so that I'm the guy that everybody wants to talk about? So backstage, man, we got there at 9 a.m. and the show started at like 7 p.m. So we were there for a long time, and our segment was like 2 hours into the show. And I literally, yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was literally practicing my 2-sentence promo over and over and over. Where should I pause? Like, what kind of, like, where should I smile? Like, where should I raise my voice? I watched clips from Braveheart and like Independence Day. Because usually, on the indies, my whole gimmick is that like I'm Peter Pan. I'm like a 17-year-old boy who like likes to eat chicken nuggets and lives with his mom. So when I cut a babyface promo, I'm just kind of like this naive little dork. And when I cut a heel promo, I'm like this obnoxious little punk. I've never had to cut like a Sting, like a inspiring babyface promo to rile the support and emotion of an entire nation. You know what I mean?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's take it back.
Sure.
Let's take it back to Fresno, California.
Oh Lord.
Okay.
Let's take it back to Best of the West.
Right.
In a match that was probably the greatest thing that Tim had ever seen in his life.
Oh Lord.
Nothing bad happened in this match. This match was 100% amazing. Nothing bad happened at all. But Tim, why don't you talk about this match that involved
all right.
our great guest today?
So I went to this show. It was at Fresno City College, and it was Best of the West. First time I'd seen clips of them online and stuff, and it was the first time I actually went to one of their shows. And it was one of the I think it was one of the first matches of the night. You come out there with Chaz Herrera to do a tag team match, and the ropes break.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, what the heck? I've never seen this happen in a wrestling show before. Like I've seen, soft ropes and droopy ropes, but not like the ropes if you tried to bounce off of that rope, you're gonna fall out of the ring.
Yeah.
Like, is that like I would assume that's uncommon for you to experience?
Yeah, it's definitely uncommon, but I think a lot of wrestlers have experienced it at least once. And if you're a professional, I think this thing that separates professional wrestlers with just professional wrestlers is being able to act on the fly and improvise.
Right.
So when the ropes break, are you still going to be able to have a great match? So when I got in there, like it pretty much, I think it was match 2, and the ropes broke basically on the opening spot between Chaz and one of our opponents. And Chaz hits, or somebody hits the ropes, and the ropes break, and they just look at each other and then just kind of tag me and the other guy.
Yeah.
There's like, fuck it, we can't right now. You go, please.
And I walk in and I'm looking across at my opponent and I'm like, okay. And I do this thing where if I want to call something really loudly to my opponent, I'll start off by talking shit. So I'm like, yeah, you think you're going to beat me? I'll have you know that I'm very experienced in ropeless rings. and then like I'll slowly transition into, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go for a clothesline. You're going to go behind me. We're going to do our spot, but we're not going to run. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm doing it while my eyes are big and I'm like, yeah, so that everybody still thinks I'm talking shit to my opponent. For me, that's my favorite way of calling a spot, is saying something really loudly and then continuing to say just my spot really softly so the audience thinks that I'm just talking shit.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I think that's a side that not a lot of people know about wrestling, is kind of like that in the ring calling stuff. Unless you're John Cena, who screams out his spots in the middle of the television.
You talk too much.
Oh God. How do they tell you, like, hey, what do they say to you when they say, if you have to call a spot, this is how you want to do it?
Like when they're training me?
Yes.
So, the classic way is to hide your mouth. Like, if you're locking up and you're pushing them in the corner, or when you go in for an Irish whip, everybody brings their head into the guy's neck and they whisper something. That's like what everybody knows. Like, a lot of guys grow their hair out long so they can, have it over their face and they can call a spot better. But like the thing I said, where you talk shit at first and then transition into actually calling the spot. I think that's my favorite way of doing it, because it actually kind of involves the crowd, and it makes it so that you can actually communicate more clearly with your opponent, because you're just talking to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
As opposed to like looking at the guy dead in the eye and just like, you'll hear. I mean, it's much harder for WWE guys because they got a camera right at ringside, and that's gonna pick up little things, as opposed to when you're in an indie show and it's just the crowd who has to listen in. I like to say something that'll pop a crowd, like something like big. I'll scream something if I'm a heel or a face, so I get the crowd to at least like be like, yeah, for like 3 seconds, just so I can say something real quickly to the guy in terms of what I want to do for a spot, and not have to worry about somebody hearing.
Right.
Yeah. But
what I want to know is, this is always something that I've personally wondered, and this is me taking my journalistic side away and just asking strictly as like a straight up fan. In those indie shows, how fucking awkward is it if you don't get the reaction that you're looking for? Because I've been to indie shows, specifically big time wrestling. There's a lot of times where these guys will come out and they'll clearly supposed to be heels or faces, and they're not really getting reactions. They're just getting like, oh, Dad, look, it's a guy. He's not wearing a shirt. Like, what is the go-to plan?
The go-to plan for me is to sacrifice time in the match to interact with the audience, because it doesn't make sense to do moves if nobody cares. That's kind of my philosophy. Is like, if we have like an 8-minute match, I don't mind taking 2 minutes to like powder out of the ring and talk shit to the crowd, because if I talk shit to the crowd, that lets them know that, hey, actually, we can get invested in wanting to see this guy win, or wanting to see the other guy win and wanting to see this guy lose. Of course, I always say it's much easier to be a heel because you get more opportunities to interact with the crowd. Like at Best of the West, I'll tease giving people my shirt, and I'll always take it away from them, and then I'll give it to like some hot chick in the crowd. And then when I lose my match, I'll go over to her and be like, "That's $20," and take it back away.
Oh, that's great. That's brilliant.
I'll steal someone's Coke, or, I'll do something, because when the crowd sees me give someone a moment, one crowd member a moment, it gives them the hope that maybe if I make enough noise, he's going to do something with me. And they don't care whether it's a negative experience or a positive experience. They just want to have an experience. And if they see a guy who they don't care about wrestle, it doesn't matter how many moves I do, they're not going to give a shit, because probably like there's always going to be somebody that's going to do something crazier on a card, most likely. What matters is making the people around you care. So if I come out to crickets, then I pretty much am like, okay, so I'm going to have to work a little bit harder and speak a little bit louder. Like Kevin Owens is a great example of someone who will just talk shit to the crowd and fill up space in a match by, you know, talking shit to his opponent or talking shit to the audience. And then the audience will actually listen and watch because they don't want to miss an opportunity to interact, because that's really what people pay, at least in my experience, people pay to go to the shows, is that so they can be a part of the show. And I think that's why you have so many, I like to call them shit chanters, because they want to chant things that'll interfere with the show, because in a way, it's kind of their only way of being a part of the show, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
So I want to give them an opportunity to be a part of the show that doesn't detract from the match itself.
So what is your next show? Why don't you let them know your next appearance, if you know what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't know when this show comes out. Actually, tonight is Hoodslam, which is pretty much my home promotion. But
I've never been to a Hoodslam show. I always mean to.
Oh, they're awesome. It's seriously awesome. It's basically like a big party concert. It's in a concert venue.
You have to be 21.
You do have to be 21, which actually
Nick can't go.
I circumvented that rule when I actually started wrestling when I was 17 years old, which is kind of where the gimmick came from, is that I never aged. So part of
I don't age.
I just don't age. So part of the reason why I always did ring crew is because it was the only way I could get into the show. So
brilliant.
Tonight is Hoodslam, and actually Hoodslam is streaming on Twitch. So if you want to watch it, you can watch it on Twitch. Google Hoodslam on Twitch, and we stream it live. It's every first Friday of the month. Tonight is Hoodslam. June 1st is Hoodslam, and then the non-First Friday shows typically are themed. So June 15th, for example, I believe is our video game show, where wrestlers will dress up as video game characters and fight each other, which is pretty dope.
That can you let us know who you're dressing up as?
I'll give you one hint.
Go. Yes!
Oh man.
That's all I'm gonna say. You'll have to watch for more.
I need to go.
Yeah, I've been excited for this for a long time. But yeah, we get a great crowd. I mean, they're raucous and they'll pop off a shoulder tackle. They'll pop off of anything because they're so excited to be there. But really what we want to grow and kind of capitalize on is this Twitch market and this Twitch audience who can watch, at home. So, anybody can watch the shows, and it's very episodic. There's long-term storylines running at all times, pretty much. So for people to be able to watch it show by show, even if they're not able to go to the shows, is really important to us.
Do you want to go ahead and plug their Twitch one more time, just so our chat knows and anyone else listening to this knows where to go? And you said it's the first Friday of every month? Yeah, the first Friday of every month. And they also do shows during the month, but the one that always happens is the first Friday of every month. And you can watch those shows at www.twitch.tv/Hoodslam. And if you just Google Twitch Hoodslam, you should be able to find that. And we'll definitely put that in our description. Sure.
I didn't know that you guys stream that, and so that's going to be awesome. Yeah.
Any bit of wrestling to watch is always good wrestling.
Absolutely. Especially, here's the thing about realism in wrestling and, cartoony stuff or joke stuff. And I think the first, spot I saw of that was, the invisible grenade when I was first starting. People would be like, well, how do you explain that? How do you explain 8 men who are trying to beat each other in a fight selling an invisible grenade? And the way I always kind of thought about it is, it's kind of like in a game. Games have rules, right? Right. So when you're playing Simon Says and the guy moves his arm when you don't say Simon Says, he's out. He doesn't have to stop playing, but he does because it's a rule. That's the rule of the game. Everybody. It's just like wrestling. So if your promotion is set within a universe where there are invisible grenades, then it makes sense for everybody to sell that. You know what I mean? So in Hoodslam, for example, we have Cereal Man, who is a wrestler who has a cereal box for a head, and when he gigs, when he's cut open, milk comes out of his head instead of blood.
Wow. Something doesn't add up here. How does cereal bleed milk? This is fake. Wrestling is fake confirmed.
Right. Or when he opens his head, he takes out a bag of like cornflakes and puts it in the ring, and everybody sells it like thumbtacks.
Wow.
Obviously,
That's
out
great.
of context, that's crazy. But within the context of Hoodslam, it makes sense because we've established within the rules of the universe that that is true. We have a wrestling librarian known as Richard Shineri, and his specialty match is, of course, the Sanctum of Silence match, which is a match where the only rules are you can do whatever you want to your opponent, and the only way to win is to make your opponent emit a noise. And so in this match, the whole crowd is like almost dead silent. It's one of the only matches where you want the crowd to be silent. And the announcer is whispering, and whenever something crazy happens, they go, "Holy shit. Holy shit." And it's amazing because you have all these drunk people who want to go, "Ah," and the whole crowd will go, "Shh." We cultivate an environment where people know the rules, and because we adhere to the rules, everything makes sense. It's kind of like comic books, you know? Superpowers.
Kind of reminds me a little of like Chikara.
Absolutely. We're like, we're basically the rated R Chikara.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what I want to ask as we begin to wrap up here, and it's going to be our final question, is
Sure.
I'm sure it's the question that, you know, a whole bunch of friends asked you, a whole bunch of people on the internet. What's your dream opponent? If you got the chance to face anyone in the WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor, all those fun, exciting places, who do you want to face?
So when I got back into wrestling when I was around 14 years old, because I kind of stopped watching after what happened with Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, the magic was kind of gone for me. I got back into wrestling when I was like 14 or 15, but I didn't think that I was going to be a wrestler. I just wanted to be around the business. I looked up internships at WWE headquarters because I never saw myself. I looked in the mirror and I didn't see a wrestler. And then SummerSlam 2013, it was Daniel Bryan versus John Cena for the WWE Championship. And this is going to make me sound like a huge mark, but I'm going to say it anyway. And the moment that Daniel Bryan beat John Cena clean as a whistle, and me and my two little sisters exploded and jumped around the living room, yesing and screaming and just being so happy, is when I stopped and I looked at the TV and I kind of smiled and thought to myself, holy shit, I think I can actually do this. Because Daniel Bryan kind of taught me that no matter how you looked, if you really tried your damnedest and if you worked harder than everybody else to be the best, that you can achieve your dream. And the cream really does rise to the top. So I would say that my dream opponent would be Daniel Bryan, because he's kind of the reason that I had the dream of becoming a wrestler in the WWE in the first place.
There you go, and that's never a bad dream opponent.
Very
I feel
inspirational.
like that match would be incredible. Well, Mansoor, I want to give a very big thank you for coming on the show today.
No, thank you guys for having me. It was an absolute honor.
Means the world to be able to talk to you, man.
Thank you, man.
Do you want to plug any social media that you got?
Sure. I would plug my Instagram, but it got deactivated.
Yeah, I was going to say, you and I were chatting back and forth about coming on. All of a sudden, you went MIA, and I was like, well, that's a shame.
I know. I don't know why, but I was getting thousands of comments from angry people about the whole angle. I mean, you all know what happened with Arya and like the death threats and everything. And I actually
have you talked to him since?
I haven't talked to him, but I did put out that tweet that was like, hey, like, guys, come on, like this is not.
Don't blame the wrestlers.
Exactly. Actually, it was really kind of enjoyable for me because like I got some really, really funny Instagram messages that were sent to me from people who are not great at English. And
that's half our comment section, trust me.
Right, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I posted a few on Twitter, so if you want to, you can check that out. My Twitter is at Manny Faberino, which is MANNY FABERINO. And, I plug the shows that I'm going to be on and general shit posting and stuff like that.
There you go.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a great day, great weekend, and great continuing wrestling. Hopefully we can get you back on here soon.
Thank you so much. I'd love that.
Well, folks, that's going to do it for us. What were you going to say, Mansoor?
Oh, I just want to say I hope you guys have a great day.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter as always at PW_Armstrong and us at PWUnlimited. Tim, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitch and Twitter at TimmyBuddy. And I just want to say thank you again for coming on here. Maybe I'll see you at a upcoming Best of the West show or something. And
yeah, hit me up.
Maybe we can do something there together.
Absolutely.
I'll take a drop kick from you. I'll take a
because I really want to get my shit in, brother. I just gotta hit this drop kick.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna put over. I think the shove is gonna be my new finishing move.
Oh, it has to be.
Aria sold the shit out of that. He made me
did.
look like $1 million. I owe him so.
That's not your finishing move. I'm never showing up to another show again.
I mean, really, I owe those guys so much for making us look good. You know, really, wrestling is a team sport. I mean, it's they're our partners. There are. It's a lot like theater in that sense, and we all got to make each other look good.
Oh yeah,
so I appreciate that.
Thanks a lot, Mansoor. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We hope you enjoyed, and we will see you guys in the future. See you guys later.